Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Going There. I feel like this is going to be a very vulnerable episode, and whew, I think we should just dive right into it. I am currently in Palm Springs. I forgot my Going There microphone that I use, so I have my podcast microphone and my computer right over here. And I just am coming off of a weekend at Coachella, or one day at Coachella, and then a day of recovery from literally dancing and walking a half marathon, 16 miles, I think it was, something like that. Crazy. So I'm still so sore, but it was a really special experience that Matt and I got to share together, and so much fun, and exactly what I needed after this past month. It has been a lot. And it's so interesting because what I really love about this series is that there's no structure, no plan, no decision made ahead of time of what I want to talk about or what I'm going to share, because it really is sharing in real time what's happening behind the scenes. And last month, when we had our second episode of Going There, I was sharing about the importance of presence and really making my priority savoring every single moment, having moments of joy and happiness now. And while that is still always at the forefront of my mind, I really struggled over this past month with the roller coaster of anxiety. And I think that there are several reasons for it, which I'll share in this conversation today. But it was a hard month, you guys. There was a lot going on. I mentioned in our last episode that we were hiring somebody new for the team, and I also started migrating everything from my course portal and website platform to a new course portal and new platform. I mean, the amount of work that I did over this past month and that my team did over this past month is so above the norm that I felt very much sucked into this overwhelm that can often come when there's a million different things going on. So we had the site migration. I was also onboarding Rachel, my new team member. We were also talking about bringing someone else on. I also decided to hire a podcast manager to ramp everything back up for the podcast. At the same time, we're working with our launch agency for our June launch of the Academy of Breath. We have a partner program. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We are launching new programs, new masterclasses every month, and I don't have a big team. So a lot of the work fell on like solely Rachel and myself. And I really felt the effects of overwhelm mentally and emotionally over this past month, which was really hard because overwhelm always brings up anxiety for me. And I noticed that the anxiety was getting really bad because I was starting to have trouble sleeping. I would stay up at night feeling like my heart contract and just a million different things going on in my mind. And I certainly don't want this episode to turn into a boo-hoo feel sorry for me, because that's not what it is at all. But this whole past month just like really brought to a head how important it is to be taking care of your mind. And even though I was going to the gym every day, almost every day, moving my body, having fun over the weekends, I definitely let my breathwork and meditation practices slide. And on the days that I did, I felt instantly the impact of not nourishing my mind and not nourishing my soul. And this morning I was thinking about this because the way that I see it is like burnout, overwhelm, anxiety, all of these things that just consume us are such a disservice to our mission, because at the end of the day, if you aren't taking care of yourself, if you are getting so wrapped up in whatever project it is or whatever next milestone or whatever launch, to the point where it's pulling you out of your fullest expression, out of your joy, out of your freedom, then the work itself isn't actually as powerful. The work that you can do with clients won't be as profound, won't be as impactful. And gosh, I just went through so many moments of like guilt and shame towards myself because of the anxiety that was coming up, because I knew that my head was going to places where it felt like I had taken like 10 steps backwards. And when I'm in California right now, when I was leaving for California the night before, I was feeling so much anxiety. And I know that it was because we were waking up early. We were going to be leaving Texas for over a month, like all of the things. I knew that there were multiple reasons. But in that moment, feeling all of that anxiety and like negativity coming up in my mind, I made a decision that the season of me being overwhelmed, taking too much on, having to like really hustle, not to the point of burnout, but just to the point of like I could feel that my mind wasn't at its optimal state. That season was over. And I decided there, laying in bed as I was just breathing and doing my breathwork practices as I was falling asleep, that this month of California was going to be a reset, but not only that, the start of a brand new book with blank pages in which I would write a new story and enter a new era of my self-leadership, of my mindset, of my emotional health. And it hasn't necessarily been perfect since I got here, but it's felt so much better, and it's been an anchor for me to come back to magic every single time my mind starts to go somewhere negative. And I guess I wanted this to be the conversation today because, as I mentioned in our very first episode of Going There, like duality always exists. And so, I can share an episode a month ago and feel really good and positive and upbeat, but then there can be a month of challenges and overwhelm and anxiety and all of the things that make us feel like, oh, I'm stuck in one place, or there's quicksand in my feet. And it doesn't mean that I'm going backwards. It doesn't actually mean that I've taken 10 steps back. It doesn't mean that any of us have gone backwards. It's just life. And in fact, to me, these are actually the moments that matter most. How I show up for myself in these moments is what defines my character, what defines my level of leadership. And so the awareness and the decision to change, the decision to shift, the decision to not stay in the same place, like to actually do something about it, is what I'm most proud of, even if it didn't necessarily mean that there was an instant fix. And oftentimes, honestly, just the redirection of my mind created an instant shift in my energy. Those moments where I was laying in bed over this past month, stressing out about what was I forgetting, or would the next launch be successful, or is it all adding up in the way that I want it to? Even in those moments, I would catch myself. I would feel the contraction. I would feel even my like shoulders come up towards my ears. And in those moments, even, I would tell myself and remind myself of what's true, what's real, that I'm okay, that I'm safe, that I'm doing amazing, that it is all adding up, that the things that I desire are going to come to me, that I'm a brilliant woman, that I know how to lead. And just that redirection of my mind created the peace inside of my body to help me feel differently. So I think that this is just such a good lesson, again, in duality, but also in choice and redirection, and knowing that like you don't have to stay stuck in the feelings that are arising for you. In fact, the more that you recognize feelings that are arising for you, to me personally, like the greater your emotional intelligence is, because in those moments you actually have the ability to shift and change. And that's how we create new identities. That's how we create new ways of being. That's how we up level, so to speak, in our leadership. And I just think that we can be so hard on ourselves in those moments, but if we recognize them for what they truly are, like the gifts, then they're not actually so bad. There's context there. There's perspective there. There's divine reason there. So I'm feeling better for sure. Like I said, it's not always perfect, but it's moving in an upward trajectory. And I feel like I've also just learned so much as well about how things need to be done and what needs to be prioritized in order for me to feel good, and also when to push and when to just let things flow. And I think that that's obviously individual for every single person. But again, I wouldn't have found out these things about myself. I wouldn't have discovered these ways of being. I wouldn't have discovered what works for me and what doesn't work for me without actually trying and doing the thing. And I just want to encourage all of you that are listening to this or watching this on YouTube to not be scared of overwhelm, to not be scared of fucking things up, to not be scared of quote unquote getting things wrong, to not be scared of failure, to not be scared of putting your whole heart into it and things not turning out the way that you want, because it's these moments that are going to develop you into the person, the leader, the business owner, the partner, the friend, the child that you truly know you can be. We need these moments because these moments are helping to build us. And so if we can do the things that we know we want to do, if we can be the person that we know we want to be, if we can take the risks that we know we want to take, if we can start the projects that we really want to start, if we can put ourselves out there in ways that we feel inspired to, and yes, feel fear, but not let the fear stop us, I truly believe that is when we create extraordinary lives. And I feel like I'm in the process of creating an even more extraordinary life. It's so funny. One of my students inside of the Academy of Breath messaged me this morning on Voxer, and it was perfect timing because I was going to do this episode today. And she shared, looking at your life, going to Coachella, traveling, having your house, your relationship, all of your different programs running, like, tell us, like, how is it all? How is it all? And I was like, to be honest, right now, it's been a lot. Right now, it's been really overwhelming. Right now, I've been in a season of building where it doesn't necessarily always feel like the most extraordinary life, where I feel like some days I'm like really getting my hands dirty and not seeing the quote unquote payoff instantaneously. But the building is a constant evolution. And the building is like the moment to moment. The building is the day by day, month by month, year by year. The building is the journey. And so when we can be good with building, whether we have instant results or it takes a month, a year, 3 years, then I really think that we'll be able to find peace in the moments in between and peace in the mundane. And I forgot where I saw this, but I saw this somewhere. It was all about how there's certain milestones that we have throughout our life, But those milestones are fractional compared to all of the moments in between. And yet we emphasize these milestones. We make them so much bigger than the moments in between. But the majority of our life is the moments in between. And that's always stuck with me because I've always been somebody who focuses a lot on the milestones. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But like I said in our last episode, it's the moments in between that I've really been focusing on lately. And while I'm not perfect at it, I do think that I'm getting better every single day. And that moments such as the decision to make coming to California a magical new start to a season or a new era in my life, and taking the time to go to Coachella and play, and we're going to Stagecoach next weekend too. Just having the moments of play, having the moments of connection. This might be TMI, but we were waiting for Calvin Harris to come on Saturday night at Coachella, and we were just sitting in the crowd, and Matt, my boyfriend, and I, we were just making out like teenagers, and it was just sweet and cute and made me so happy. And it was like the simplest of things, and it's like those are the things that we stop valuing after a while. But those are the moments of connection, right? Those are the moments of love. Those are the moments of fulfillment. And so I hope that through this episode, again, this is not invitation to feel sorry for me for being overwhelmed, but instead an invitation for you to remember those moments in between and find peace in the days in which you are building something spectacular. Celebrate, of course, the milestones, but also celebrate all of the other days in between the milestones. And know that when you start to feel negativity build inside of your mind, anxiety grow inside of you, overwhelm from all of the amazing things that you're doing, because I know that you're doing so many amazing things, there's always an opportunity for a redirection, and you don't have to stay there. Your mind, your body, your choices are so massively impactful. And sometimes all it takes is a single choice to completely change the trajectory of our day, of our week, of our month, of our year, of our life. So I'll leave you with that. This is definitely not an easy thing for me to share, especially because a lot of people project that things are always peachy for me. And they certainly are not. I have a beautiful life, but I deal with anxiety. I have a tendency to bite off more than I can chew. I get really excited and just dive headfirst into things. And I'm learning to find a little bit more balance. So this month has been a big wake-up call for me to prioritize even more my mental, emotional, and physical health. So I love you guys all so very much. You are all so amazing, and I love connecting with all of you. So if this episode resonated with you, if you've been experiencing similar feelings, feel free to send me a DM. My Instagram is at @IamAvaJohanna. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, like I said, we just brought on a podcast manager. Shout out to Jules. And we are having some really incredible guests come on the podcast. So make sure to subscribe either on Apple or follow us on Spotify so you can get all of the latest episodes. All of the monthly episodes of Going There are already on the podcast from month 1 and month 2, and we're going to continue to release episodes every single month to give you a behind the scenes of what it's like to be me and what I'm navigating, what I'm going through, what I'm processing, and all of the aha moments that are happening for the woman behind the brands. So thank you all for being here with me.